Hey, it's Linda, and today's video is going to be a bit different than the usual recipe videos on my channel. Let's imagine you wake up, it's Thanksgiving Day, and things are not going to go as planned. Maybe you live someplace super cold and it's too frigid to go outside and go to the store and get stuff. Maybe your local store is already closed because it's Thanksgiving Day. Maybe you had to work on Thanksgiving and you just got home and you're really tired and you just have to pull something together to still have some kind of semblance of festivity going on. So this is going to be for that. I'm calling this the last minute vegan Thanksgiving challenge. For this challenge, I'm going to attempt to make a 3-course vegan Thanksgiving meal. So there's going to be a main entree, a savory side dish, and a sweet component. Dessert, side dish, whatever you want to call it. We're gonna see how this goes. So the rules are I can't go to the grocery store to get anything, I can't look up any recipes, and basically I have to use whatever I have on hand for this. Oh, and it has to be done in under 2 hours. So no pressure, right? But this is gonna kind of exercise our creative juices. So if you've ever found yourself in a last minute bind for Thanksgiving or any kind of holiday meal, comment below what was your experience like for that and how did you handle it? Let's get into the video. I'm really nervous, but I'm also excited. I kind of have a general plan of attack for how I want to do this, but you know, we're gonna see how this turns out. These recipes have not been tested, so you've been warned here. So we'll see how these turn out, okay? All right, I'll see you in the kitchen. Okay, I'm starting my timer for 2 hours. I realized even though I have a 2-hour time limit, I think it's really important to take at least a few minutes to really think about it and plan out what you're gonna do, because if you are just running around in the kitchen all stressed out and trying to pull out this and that, you're gonna be really stressed out and it might not turn out so good, and that's gonna give you more anxiety. Initially, I was planning to make like a stuffed seitan roast with like a mashed potato stuffing, but since one of my rules is that I can't look up any recipes, I really don't want to mess up the seitan part of it, and because it takes an hour to cook it too, that's gonna limit how much prep time I have. I'm gonna scratch that idea and I'm gonna go with something that's a lot more forgiving and like harder to mess up. So I'm gonna go with a shepherd's pie. I've got some dried lentils. I'm gonna cook them up with some aromatic veggies, add some other flavorings in there, and just make like a mashed potato topping. Even if it doesn't look as impressive presentation-wise, it'll taste really good, and it's harder to mess up that. If you're making a shepherd's pie, it doesn't have to be strictly lentils. Like if all you have is canned black beans at home, which I have plenty of those too, like you can make it out of black beans. It's all about the seasonings. If you have the vegan ground beef stuff, like the frozen kind, you could definitely use that. Textured vegetable protein, I've never really cooked with that before, but if you have, you can go for that. What else could you make it out of? Basically like an assortment of veggies, and if you have some kind of like higher protein type of base, like tofu even, I think as long as you season it right and you put it all in a pan, cover it in mashed potatoes, I think you can't go wrong with that. So we're gonna use that for our last minute Thanksgiving challenge. And the great thing is with the shepherd's pie, I mean honestly, like all the components are already cooked. So even let's say if normally you would cook it for 30 minutes, if I only have 20 or 25 minutes to cook it, then it's okay. Like you're not gonna die from eating raw anything because everything's already cooked, you know what I mean? I want to make a savory side dish, so I'm thinking just some simple like sauteed green beans with crumbled tempeh bacon on top. And then for the dessert portion, I'm gonna make basically my sweet potato mash that I made in my last video, but I'm gonna add some canned pumpkin to that because obviously pumpkin is like a big theme for Thanksgiving. All right, so that's kind of my rough plan of attack. How much time did I use up already? 7 minutes. Okay, that took 2 minutes longer than I thought it would, but let's get cooking. I started out by cooking up my lentils along with a bay leaf, and I'm also cooking my chopped potatoes at this point. Just needs to come to a boil. I chopped up half an onion for this recipe to go with my mixture of aromatic veggies. And I also had a teeny bit of leftover celery in the fridge that I just decided to throw in there too. If If you had more celery, you could definitely use more. Next, I'm chopping up a carrot to add to my veggie mixture. I kind of want the veggie pieces to be really small so it blends in with the lentils. As you can see, I had a little bit of leftover red bell pepper too, so I'm just using that up. We're cleaning out the fridge today. I warmed up some olive oil in a large pan and threw in all the veggies. I also added some chopped garlic and add a little bit of water as needed to deglaze the pan. I cooked these for a few minutes until it started to really soften and develop some color on it. Then I added some canned corn to the mixture, seasoned it with some black pepper, some dried sage, dried basil, and stirred it all up. More black pepper, of course, and some salt. Next, I added a little bit of smoked paprika just to give it more of an umami, meaty kind of flavor. And then I poured in my cooked lentils. I didn't have too much broth, so it worked out just fine. Next, I added a little bit of tomato paste. I used probably 2 to 3 tablespoons here. And I added some soy sauce to give it more of that deep brown color. This is definitely optional, but I had some leftover tofu in the fridge that I needed to use up, so I just crumbled it up and added it. And then I'm seasoning it with more of everything. Definitely the dry sage is a big one to give it that Thanksgiving flavor, but I also added more black pepper and smoked paprika too. Just mix it all well until the flavors marry and smell delicious. Next, I got my cooked potatoes and I added some almond milk to them. You can use any kind of plant-based milk that you like. And then I also added some plant-based buttery topping. You could use Earth Balance. I also found this brand that is a coconut-based vegan butter. It's from Pure Blends. I found that at grocery outlet and it works great for this. Then I just mashed it all up. Seasoned it with salt and pepper. Mashed it through really nicely. I left the potato skins on my potatoes just because if it's last minute, who wants to waste time peeling potatoes? But as you'll see later on, they add a nice crispness to the top of our shepherd's pie. Next, let's assemble our shepherd's pie. I poured the lentil vegetable mixture into a large rectangular glass baking dish and then just kind of flatten it out so it's nice and even. Then just scoop on all the mashed potatoes over the top. And spread them out as evenly as you can. This might be easier if you do it with a spatula, but I just used a spoon. And then this is optional, but I like to dot the top of the mashed potatoes with some more of the vegan buttery spread. It makes it nice and golden. We're gonna prepare a marinade for our tempeh bacon. We're gonna start with some soy sauce. I added maple syrup, about equal parts of the two. Then I just sprinkled in some smoked paprika, some ground cumin, and some black pepper. And then I just added some olive oil to kind of bind it all together and add a little bit of fat. Mix it all well, and then I chopped up some tempeh really finely and added it to the marinade, and now I'm just stirring that together to coat it evenly and marinate the tempeh.
If you dice it finely, the tempeh will end up crumbling in the pan as you start to cook it. So I just heated up a nonstick pan over medium heat, added my tempeh crumbles, and you can see after a few minutes you start to get some really nice browning on the edges. Next, I added my canned green beans. If you have cooked fresh green beans, you can use that too. But again, last minute, I'm going for convenience here. Season it with some pepper and stir it really well together. You'll start to get that really delicious smoky smell from the tempeh bacon. Next, I added some chopped kale over the top to make it a little bit more green friendly. And then I covered it up to wilt the kale, but as you'll see later on, that's not really necessary. So now I am stirring it up just to incorporate all those flavors. For the sweet potato pumpkin mash, I cooked my sweet potatoes in boiling water while I was preparing the tempeh bacon green beans. So now that the sweet potatoes are done cooking, you can mash them, and I added some coconut milk to give it that nice creamy texture. Now I'm adding some canned pumpkin. I started with half a can, but I ended up using the whole can, as you'll see. Then just mash it all through until it's nicely incorporated. This is the time of year where mashing can be really therapeutic. I added some cinnamon, ground ginger. If you have pumpkin pie spice, you could use that too. And then I just added a little drizzle of maple syrup as well. And mash it all up. Give it a little taste test and add more coconut milk and spices if you like. I recommend a pinch of salt in there too, just to really bring out all the flavors. For the topping, I heated up a small nonstick skillet and crumbled some pecans into the skillet and just stirred them often to toast them to add on top of our sweet potato mash. Ooh la la, there is our lentil shepherd's pie with those golden mashed potatoes on top. We've got our tempeh bacon green beans and kale, really good twist on typical green bean dishes, and our sweet potato and pumpkin mash, which is perfect for dessert. Here it all is plated up together. Actually came out pretty nice. You've got a nice assortment of colors there, and I am so excited to dig into this. Whew. Okay, we are done in the kitchen, at least for now. I do have a massive pile of dishes in there that I'm gonna need to get to, but you know what? I'm gonna try this first before I tell you how long it took me to actually prepare this last minute vegan Thanksgiving meal. So let's see what we got here. Okay, so I'm gonna try the lentil shepherd's pie first. Pretty good. The mashed potato topping came out really nice and buttery thanks to that vegan butter we used. I think the lentils could have used a little more seasoning, but that might also be because I'm recovering from a cold and my sinuses are a little bit plugged, so maybe the flavors aren't coming through as strong. But all in all, it's really comforting. I like how the mashed potato on top got kind of golden. And you know how we left the potato skins on there? So the potato skins that were on top got actually kind of crispy. Okay, I'm gonna try these tempeh bacon green beans and kale. My thoughts on this one? The taste is good, but I feel like the texture could have been a little more, I don't know,
browned instead of steamed. So I think next time, instead of covering the pan like I did to wilt the kale, if you make this, I would suggest not covering the pan for that step. Just add the kale, the chopped kale on top of the green beans, leave it uncovered, stir it really well, and let it all kind of develop a nice brown caramelization around the edges. So that would be my suggestion for next time, but it still tastes really good. It definitely has some smokiness from the bacony marinade. The soy sauce and the maple and the smoked paprika work really well. Okay, I'm gonna try the sweet potato pumpkin mash now. That's really nice. I can definitely get that ginger flavor coming through. The sweet potato and the pumpkin make a really nice combination. I ended up having more pumpkin volume-wise, I think, than mashed sweet potato. So you could definitely cook more sweet potato than what I did, or just have one or the other, depending on what you have in your cabinet on Thanksgiving Day. I was debating whether to do the toasted pecans at the end because I was already over my time. Spoiler alert. But I don't suggest skimping out on the crunchy topping because it adds a really nice contrast. You already have the mashed potato and like the lentils are kind of soft already, and my green beans ended up being not super crispy either, so having like a crunchy topping on top of your mashed sweet potato and pumpkin I think is good. If you have nut allergies or in the family you want to keep it more allergy friendly, instead of toasted pecans you could definitely do toasted pumpkin seeds. I think that would be a nice crunchy topping. All in all though, I've got to say, for being a last minute, not very well pre-planned Thanksgiving meal, it came out pretty good. Maybe this wouldn't win a Michelin star or anything like that, but I think this is a very comforting vegan Thanksgiving meal, and if you follow those tips I shared with you, I think this would be really fantastic. I actually really like the shepherd's pie idea for a last minute vegan Thanksgiving meal because you just cook it up with whatever you have, put it in a pan, bake it for however much time you want. I think I ended up baking mine for about 30 minutes, so it got that nice goldenness on top, especially with the little bits of dotted butter that I added. So yeah, there you have it. I did not make it in under the 2 hours, unfortunately. It ended up taking me 2 hours, 20 minutes, and 5 seconds. So still not too bad considering that in the past I have literally spent 16 hours preparing a vegan Thanksgiving meal for a crowd of people. Anything under 3 hours, really, like this was under 2.5 hours, I'd say that's a win. And I took a bathroom break in the middle of cooking, and we had some unexpected visitors come over, which kind of threw off my whole flow in the kitchen. Not to mention I was filming too. Every time that I have to reposition the tripod and move the camera, those little moments add up. I probably could have made this in under 2 hours if I was really focused. Take these tips and happy Thanksgiving. Comment below, what are you grateful for this Thanksgiving? I am grateful for an abundance of wonderful food that does not involve any animal cruelty whatsoever. And I'm grateful for my wonderful husband, my wonderful family, my health, even though I am technically sick right now, but overall I'm pretty healthy. I'm grateful for the work I get to do and for getting to share my food with you, and I'm so grateful that you are sharing your time with me. If you like this kind of video, please hit the subscribe button and make sure you click the notification bell as well so that you get notified. I put out new recipe videos every Sunday. Most of the time they're more planned out than this. But let me know in the comments too, do you want to see more spontaneous cooking challenges? Let me know. All right, have a wonderful Thanksgiving and I'll see you next week. Bye. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving. Just remind yourself, oh, gross. That's what happens when you're recovering from a cold and you're still filming. So, that's actually really good.